Welcome everyone to this week's Yoga Amazing video podcast. I am Chaz, I'm your host, and welcome back to another podcast, another yoga class that I'm creating just for you. Now this week's podcast is going to be a little bit different, and actually I think I'm going to open up the door to doing this more. Let's get right into this email first and I'll explain. This one comes in from Sarah. She's from Texas and she teaches belly dancing. And she asked me a bunch of questions that her students were asking about yoga, and then she also gave me a list of their favorite poses that they do. And I thought, well, this is perfect for everyone to do. It's a series of poses that she does with her students, but many of the students have questions, and she said, could you explain these poses for us as well as she has some questions. So yes, this is a great idea, and if you have, and once I go through this, if you have some similar ideas, you can please send them to me at chaz@yogaamazing.com. And if I can create a class for you and for everyone else that can help us become healthier and happier individuals, I'd be more than happy to do so. Please leave your feedback on iTunes as well, as I'm getting great feedback, so thank you very much for your never-ending support. Now, let's get right into this. So there's some questions here at the beginning, then we'll do some poses. So why do yoga? Question one. Well, because yoga is good for anyone of any age, man, woman, tall, short, fat, thin. It's good for everyone. And a lot of people, when they first get into yoga, or I ask people, why don't you do yoga? And they say, well, I'm not flexible enough. And I'm like, well, you just answered your own question. So many people think that when you practice yoga, you're supposed to be this super flexible yoga person. And I'm like, no, that's not the way it is. When you practice yoga, you go at your pace, and eventually your body will respond. And as you practice more, your body will respond more. You wouldn't believe the emails I get from people around the world, and it warms my heart telling them how this yoga podcast has helped them to become happier and healthier individuals. So why do yoga? Because it will help you. This is the only thing I found workout-wise, that as you grow older, you can actually get better. Like if you play tennis, you play golf, you run, whatever. Eventually you're going to hit that peak and start dropping off. You're going to be able to practice yoga, and as you grow older, you will actually get better. So that is the reason why I practice it, because when I'm an old man, I'll still be able to do yoga and probably actually be better at my yoga than I am today. So there you go. Hope that answers that question. Here's one question. What is the most important to consider while doing yoga? The two things I always emphasize is breathe. Never stop breathing. Of course, don't stop breathing, but keep your breath fluid and consistent. Do Ujjayi breath where we inhale through the nose, hollow throat, expand the chest and lungs, and as you exhale. So we're not doing this. We're big inhales, big exhales. And by practicing this, the prana, the breath flow, is the life force of the body. And you're able to move in and out. It becomes the metronome, the timekeeper for your poses. So breathing deeply and consistently, whether the poses are easy or hard, you always keep the breath consistent and the same. The other thing I always tell people, breath number one. Number two, only go to where your body is telling you to go. If the person beside you is flattening out like a pancake in Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold, that's fine. If you're upright almost and just barely going over, that's fine, because you're both getting the same benefits. If you try to go where your partner is, who has been doing yoga for 10 years and you've been doing it for 10 days, that's when the ego comes into play. That's when you injure yourself, and that's when you stop practicing yoga, because I got hurt in yoga class and I just don't want to do it anymore. Well, that's because you let your ego come into play. So when you come into my yoga studio or any place, or when you practice at your home, take your ego, check it at the door, and let it go. Because where you were tomorrow with your yoga it's not going to be where you are today. If you practice yoga earlier today and you're practicing again, you're not in the same space. Honor where you are at that moment. If you can do that, if you can breathe properly, and you can honor where your body is, then you are doing true yoga. It doesn't matter if you're flattened out to the floor. What matters is that you listen to your body, and the person beside you has been doing it for 10 years and you've been doing it for 10 days, you both reap the same reward. Okay? Let's go to the next question. Should yoga be done systematically, or can flow from one pose to another without coming to rest, for example, in table? So there's many different styles of yoga out there. Iyengar and Bikram. Let's talk about those for a moment. Iyengar is very much focused on the poses where they may hold the poses for a long period of time. And there's not necessarily a set rhythm of the poses. You do, like a lot of the poses I do in my podcast, I give you a prescription, let's say, of poses in a certain way so that it may help you with an ailment, like yoga for your back, your neck, your shoulders, your feet, whatever. But those poses are specifically created for that need. But you can do it, if you just want to do a down dog and warrior one, warrior two, there's no right or wrong. You can practice yoga just to practice yoga. So Iyengar is more analytical, much more intense about holding the posture for a long time, becoming completely aware and trying to perfect it. But I don't mean that the wrong way, because in yoga you're never going to perfect it. It's always about the journey. Now with Bikram yoga is done in a heated room at 110 degrees, and they do a series of poses over twice. And the goal with Bikram is that when Bikram created the series, this is a series of asanas or poses that he was taught to heal your body. And people who do Bikram love it. That's great. Find out what you like to do. Now with Bikram, you do look at mirrors, you're in a 110 degree temperature room, and you do the same thing over and over, so it is very repetitive. But the people who do it, they enjoy it. Now for me, I did Bikram for a while when I got into yoga, and it's okay, but I wanted more. So eventually I moved into Ashtanga. Now Ashtanga is the power yoga created by Pattabhi Jois, and it is a systematically series of poses, kind of like a Bikram, where it's a set series of poses that never change. But it's a flow, a vinyasa, which you connect the breath and the body movement together. So as you inhale, exhale, you move and you flow. It becomes a dance, let's say. If you're doing a Bikram or an Iyengar, it's static. You just move between the poses. So Ashtanga is a very intense, one of the hardest yoga classes I've ever done, because it's very, very powerful, very aerobic. And so then what I did from there is I moved on to do my own vinyasa. I'm Ashtanga trained. I could teach Ashtanga if I'd like, but I'm a creative person. My background's in creativity. I've done graphic design for years, so I enjoy creativity. So I flow and I just have fun. And basically I create poses. It does become a dance to where the poses interlock between each other. So where it's just a flow, inhaling and exhaling through the poses. And there's many other different forms of yoga too. There's John Friend with Anusara Yoga. Then there is Jiva Mukti with David Life and Sharon Gannon. There's many different styles of yoga. All I can tell you to do is find something that you enjoy doing and do it. Yeah, there you go. So let's go to the next question. Is there only one way to do perfect yoga? Well, we talked about the many styles of yoga just now. So there is any perfect style of yoga? Is Iyengar better than Bikram, better than Ashtanga, better than Jiva Mukti, better than Anusara? No. It's what you want to do with your body. Just find something that you enjoy and do it. That's what I tell people. People are like, what do you think about this? I'm like that. I'm like, if they're doing yoga, that's fine. I teach yoga. I just teach yoga. I teach what I teach, and I know what I teach, and that's all that I teach. Okay? Find a teacher that you enjoy, and find a style of yoga that you enjoy, and go for it that way. Okay, here we go. How much emphasis should be placed on video instruction? Well, this is video instruction. Okay. Well, when I first started out, people always ask me who was my first teacher, and gosh, I can't remember. It was the Ali McGraw video, and I'm drawing a blank now. Yoga, Mind and Body with Eric Schiffman. There we go. Wonderful video. If you're just getting into yoga and you want to, this is like over 10 years old, but it's still one of the best yoga videos out there. It's a little bit beginner/intermediate. It's a little bit up there. And that's where I really learned my yoga. That I always tell people that Eric Schiffman was my first teacher, because that's where I learned to flow with the yoga. And I really liked the way he taught. So I always say that Eric Schiffman was my first teacher, even though I never met him. But eventually, what happens when you start watching videos too much, that's like each week you watch my video, or if you watch the same video over and over and over, you get locked into a groove. And sometimes you don't challenge yourself. Or a teacher in that video says, here's the way the pose is done. And your thinking is, you go to a class, you watch another video and say, that's wrong. That's not the way I've been doing it. Well, you have to remember, teachers have different ways of teaching, but they get to the same result. So if someone does a pose and it's a slight variation of what you're used to, remember, it's just yoga. And you have to let go. If you've been watching a video on and off for several years doing your yoga practice, then you need to expand your yoga and go to a class, check out some other videos, download a yoga podcast like mine or some other ones out there. And you need to, people who are getting too stuck, you need to expand your mind and listen to some other yoga teachers. Remember, Every yoga teacher has a different way of saying things. Does it mean it's right or wrong? No, it just means that person has a way of explaining it differently. And there might be some slight variations. Remember, there are thousands and thousands of poses in yoga. Okay? Hope that answers that one. If methods differ from one instructor to another, who is right or who is wrong? I think we just covered that one. And I think that pretty much covers all the basic questions. So I hope that helps. Now we're going to get into doing some poses that she has here on the list. So I'm actually going to do the poses on this list, and we're going to have a class thanks to Sayer and what she does down there. So let's get started with the poses here right now. Alrighty, now the first thing we're going to get right in here to is child's pose. I always like starting in child's pose. So let's just start here, and then we'll build on the list of poses that I was given. So bring yourself into child's pose, because this will actually bring us into the first pose. So drop your forehead to the floor, open your knees, drop your stomach and chest through. Remember, this is where we start to let go of the day, the evening, the morning, and just allow yourself to become focused to the present moment. So as you inhale through the nose, hollow the throat, expand the chest and lungs. Just allowing yourself the freedom to be present with where you are in today's class. Remember, the Ujjayi breath sets our pace. Deep inhales, deep exhales becomes the metronome, the movement between the poses. That's very important to remember. Now, from here, bring yourself up to resting on your forearm. Now, she's given me a list of poses. I'm not exactly sure on some of these, because there are slight variations on what people call them. If it's not the Sanskrit name, like Paschimottanasana, and people say, seated forward fold, but sometimes people say, this or that in English, So the very first one is called twisted child's pose. Now, when I think of a twisted child's pose, so I hope that this is what you're thinking. I think of doing thread the needle. So I hope that this is what you're thinking. So in thread the needle, you bring it up to your hands and knees, and as you take a big inhale, and as you exhale, you're going to take the left arm through. Now you're opposite of me, so you can take whatever arm you want, your left arm through, and then you're going to bring up the right arm into the air, rest your head on the floor. Now, as you inhale and exhale, you're going to open it up even more. Remember the arm that's on the floor. As you inhale, expand, and as you exhale, push into the floor and roll your heart open. Deepen the breath. So each time you inhale, you expand, and as you exhale, you roll deeper. And then slowly release. Bring yourself back to the center. I'm going to rotate the other way. Big inhale. And as I exhale, I take the other arm through and I bring it up. And as I inhale, I expand. And as I exhale, I push into the arm into the floor and roll the heart open. Deepen the breath. If you have the ability, you can take that arm and wrap it around the leg, or you can keep it in the air, wherever you want to go. And then slowly release and bring yourself to child's pose. And then slowly bring yourself up again to your forearms. Now remember, when you're doing this posture, don't put all the pressure in your neck, put it into your shoulder, okay? Now the next one, what is the difference between cobra, little cobra, and up dog? So there's, I think, again, these are slight variations, and I hope I get these right. So okay, first of all, there's I think a fourth in here. A lot of people see this one. This is, you could call it the Sphinx. So this is the Sphinx pose, and I think a lot of people do this one. This is good for the lower back, but it's not cobra. There are two different variations on cobra. Actually, we're going to get into these right now. So first of all, let's just do the Sphinx pose, just breathing. Shoulder blades down, don't slump. Roll the shoulder blades down, deepen the breath. And then slowly release. Now, from here, bring your chin to the floor, thumbs to your chest, pointing right to the chest, and chin to the floor. Elbows tucked in. Now this is basic cobra, as I would call it. So big inhale, or what did she have here? Little cobra. Maybe that's what this one is that they're thinking of. Inhaling. And as you exhale, lift using your lower back muscles. Elbows tucked in. Don't let the elbows stick out. Shoulder blades down the back away from the ear. Tops of the thighs and feet rooting into the floor. Now remember, you're not pushing with your arms. If you lift your arms up off the floor, think of like a little dinosaur arms. You know, they're just useless. They're just there. You're not pushing. They're just holding you barely into place. You're using these muscles, your lower back muscles, to lift you up. So with each inhale and exhale, bring it up. Elbows tucked in, shoulder blades away from the ears, deep in the breath. And then slowly release. Turn your head, palms up. Okay, now let's do full cobra. Now this one's different. Now you are going to use your hands to push up with. And this is where a lot of people get confused between a full cobra and up dog. So I'm gonna explain that one. So again, thumbs to the chest, hands by the chest, elbows tucked in, big inhale. And as you exhale, lift up, shoulder blades down. Now if you notice, the tops of my thighs are on the floor. I'm rooting my pubic bone down towards the floor. A lot of times people do this. No. Elbows slightly bent. Deep in the breath. Now there are some variations where they do straighten the elbows, but this is just the way that I like to teach it. So I'm rooting myself down into pubic bone, shoulder blades down, breath deep. It's much more challenging because you're holding yourself on this one. And slowly release, turn your head, palms up. Next, up dog. Now, very similar to what you think we just did, but there is a difference. So from here, we're going to, let's see, what's the best way? I know what I can do. We're going to do, we're going to get to down dog. We're going to do like a little vinyasa here. So bring it in the down dog, flatten your palms, spread your fingers. Actually, we're getting into this one too though, so we're going to stay here for just a breath. And then, well, no, let's actually go ahead and talk about this. Flatten your palms, spread your fingers, roll the shoulder blades away from each other, draw the navel in, tilt the tailbone, root the heels deep in the breath. If your wrist hurt, root into your index fingers and your thumbs more. Neck is long. Hide the heels behind the feet. Feel like you're trying to tear the mat. You're stretching forward with the hands. You're stretching back with your feet, so you almost feel like you're going to tear your mat in half. Deep in the breath. If your heels don't get the floor, that's right. Your heels don't touch the floor, it just means nothing. Really, that's about it. Your heels will get to the floor eventually, don't worry about that. Deep in the breath. Now from here, we're going to drop it down to the floor. We're going to do an up dog. Now the up dog, here's the difference. We're going to bring it up. Now if you notice, arms are straight, tops of the thighs are off the floor. Can you see that? In the other variation, my elbows were slightly bent. The tops of my thighs are off the floor. My hips are off the floor. The only thing that should be touching should be the tops of my feet. And then from here, roll over the toes. Let's go back to down dog. We're going to do another one of these. Again, breathe, sink it in, root it in, deep in the breath. Remember, tilt the tailbone, bend the knees, straight spine, sliding board spine. And again, you're going to drop it down, and then you're going to bring it up into up dog. Okay? From here, tops of the thighs off the floor, feet firmly grounded. The tops of the feet should be the only thing touching. Firm up the legs, deep in the breath. Roll over the toes. Let's go to down dog. Okay, let's see what's next on the list. Okay. Since we're in down dog, we're going to do a one-legged down dog into a pigeon. So, from here, we're going to bring that leg into the air, roll the hip, push back. Push it back, roll that hip. You're going to roll that hip wide open. And then bring the right knee forward. Slide the left leg back. Good. From here, lift into the heart. She wants a pigeon pose flat, so I believe this is it. And then we're going to stretch it out. Now, a lot of times when people do the pigeon pose, they have a tendency to roll over on their side. We don't want that. Remember, you expand, exhale, release. So stretch it out. I'm going to come up so you can hear me speak, but stretch it out. Deepen the breath. Lay yourself on the floor. Remember, as you inhale, you expand. As you exhale, you release. A lot of times when people get into hip poses like this, they tense up because we carry so much of our baggage from our daily life in our hips. The stress and strain goes into the necks and shoulders and in our hips. Our hips are huge storage depots for our daily stresses and anxieties. So you got to learn to let go. Instead of tensing up, breathe, expand, and melt into the mat. And don't let your bottom, your right buttock, drop to the floor. Just breathe and release. And then let's bring it up. Take it back into our friendly neighborhood down dog. Stay here and breathe. Remember, every time you go to down dog, rebuild the house. Remember, in down dog, this is the roof. You know, a dog barks, roof. I know. Bad jokes. Hey, what do you expect from me? Not good jokes. So from here, dog at a fire hydrant, bend that knee, roll that hip, push back, point the toes, push it back. Left knee, roll it open, and then left knee comes forward, slide the right leg back. Lift into the heart. Exhale, lay it out. Same thing comes into play here. Inhale, expand, exhale, melt. Don't drop your bottom to the side. Remember, you're going to feel tension in one hip more than the other. That's just the way it is. That's why in yoga we balance it out. So deepen the breath. Keep yourself squared up. Breathe and learn to let go. That's the important thing, is learning to let go. With the poses, these poses are very challenging. The breath becomes your guide and you go deeper and you discover the pose over and over again for the very first time. It's like as a child, we see a butterfly. And the magic of seeing that butterfly for the first time as a child, it's hard to realize that again as an adult. Look at the butterfly new every time you do the pose. And then let's slowly bring it up to down dog. Take it up and back. Again, deep in the breath, sink it in. Drop to your knees. Let's do the table position. We're going to do single arm, single leg, okay? So from here, right arm, left leg. So from here, we're going to extend through the arm, extend through the leg. Now, sometimes people say, look up. I say, look down and extend your neck, get the extension. Rotate. Now, you have variations on the feet. You can push through the heel. One thing I've played with a lot is keeping my body parallel to the floor, making sure my left arm's directly under the left shoulder. I'll push through the heel, then I'll spread the toes, and I'll extend it through my big toe while still flexing through the heel, so I get that extension. But I'm going to go one more space with this pose series as well. Reach back and grab your big toe now for the tiger, and then kick your leg. Keep looking down. Release. Back to the center. Check yourself in at the table, and let's bring it up. Left arm, right leg. Again, body parallel to the floor. A lot of times people have their hip rolling open, and they bring the leg up. Extend through that leg. Spread your toes. Make sure that that shoulder and wrist are in alignment. Squeeze and lengthen, push through the heel, and then activate that leg and spread your toes. Lengthen. I like looking down because I want to get the extension. If I look up, I crank my neck up, and you get compression. I want decompression. Again, this is just the way I teach. I always go for the extension in the spine. And release. Grab your big toe for tiger. Almost forgot, didn't I? But I didn't. And slowly release. From here, let's bring it just to sitting on your heels. Check in with ourselves. It's a nice little workout here. I'm getting a little sweat here. So now let's see what else they got. We did the pigeon, we did the one-legged down dog's table. Let's get into the hero, the flat hero now. This is where you start hero. I'm gonna give you some variations here on the hero pose, Virasana. So first of all, you're gonna open up your heels, drop your bottom through, or as we call it here in Kentucky, your bottom. So we're gonna move the calves out of the way and drop your butt through. There you go, bottom. And then you're gonna sit here. Now, if you're unable to go deeper, I'll give you 3 options. 1, some people, this really hurts their feet because it's intense. If you can't do this, just get as comfortable as you can. You can place a towel, a little towel right here under your legs to make it, if it hurts, or place one here. And now, if you're gonna go back, you can stay here. I'm gonna give you 3 options. Second option is we can drop it down here to your arms, your forearms. Relax your head back. And if you have the ability, the flexibility, you can lay it all the way down on the floor. And then I want you to grab your elbows above your head. Now, when you're here in this position, I want you to bring your knees together, squeeze your knees together, and point your knees to the floor. Deepen your breath. And then let's slowly release. Bring yourself up nice and slow, always thinking about your body, protecting yourself. And now we're going to just stretch the legs out here for just a moment and just take a little breather. Just give our legs a nice stretch. And then we're going to come up to our forearms for the frog pose. Now you're going to open up your knees and your ankle to the width of your yoga mat. And then you're going to tilt the tailbone, spread the sits bones, and work on getting your ankles down to the floor. This is very intense. Shoulder blades away from the ears. Now remember, as you're doing this, deepen the breath, squeeze into the root, the Mula Bandha, or think of the Kegel method. You gotta go to the bathroom. Squeeze into the roots, tilt the tailbone, spread the sits bones, deepen the breath. If you can't get your ankles to touch the floor, just work the best you can. And then slowly release. Now the next pose that they're looking for help on is legs over the head, toes to the floor, better known as Halasana or the plow pose. Not a hard pose to do, but it's all about proper awareness of your body and alignment, okay? Listen to your body, proper alignment. I cannot stress that enough. It's all about understanding. It's like a pieces of the puzzle. You put the pieces of the puzzle together, it snaps together perfectly. If you try to force the piece into the puzzle is going to be messed up and you're going to have a very strange looking puzzle. And the same thing comes through with yoga. You have to find your way into the pose and then work on proper alignment, okay? So let's get into this one. All I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot up a little bit on my mat and I'm just going to roll it back. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to interlock my fingers. I'm going to tuck my shoulders. And then I'm going to work on getting my toes to the floor. Now for some people, so I'm going to tuck my shoulders as much as I can. Now for some people, this is about as far as they get. And if they start going deeper, they start freaking out because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to choke myself. I'm like, no, you're not. You're okay. And they could be just an inch off the floor. But you know, if this is where you feel comfortable, then allow yourself to go deeper with it when you do feel better. So breathe and then drop it back if you have the ability. Again, if you don't, then you can just, like, see how close I am to the floor and you have no idea how close you are at times? You have to your arms need to be firmed up, pushing into the mat, giving you that leverage to go deeper. And then slowly release, bend your knees and slowly roll out of it. And then make a diamond under your bottom. We're going to do the fish pose, get a nice stretch here. Point your toes, come up on your elbows and drop your head back. And then slowly release. So from here, half bridge, well, that's exactly what they do. Half bridge is when you come up and you keep your arms to your side, palms down. So you're building a sliding board. Full bridge is this, where you sort of get that deep bow. We're not doing that one. Arms to your side, palms down, and you want to bring your hips up off the floor. And then from here, let's bring up the right leg into the floor. Now, I want you to lift your legs, spread your toes, activate that leg. If you look at my toes, I mean, it's just not there. I'm actually pushing to the heel and I'm spreading my toes, activating that leg, deepening the breath. And then slowly release. Bring yourself back to the half bridge, get yourself set, and let's bring up the left leg. Same thing comes into the play here. I'm pushing to the heel, but if you notice, I'm spreading and activating that left foot. Don't get lazy and just let your leg go up there. Push through the heel and then spread the toes and activate that leg. Hug the muscles to this leg. Deepen the breath. And then slowly release. From here, bring it down vertebrae by vertebrae. Take it into reclined butterfly pose. Okay, just right to here. Arms to your side, palms open. Just let your legs drop open, deepen the breath. After you do a bridge pose, it's always good to, you need to release into reclined butterfly pose for the sacrum. So just do that, and your body will respond. From here, bring your knees together, and I believe she wanted a knee drop, so this is what I do, so I'm hoping this is the same thing that she does as well. Right knee goes to left foot, left knee points to the ceiling, and just take it down as far as you comfortably can. And inhale up, exhale, left knee down, right knee points to the ceiling. And then slowly bring that knee up and squeeze your legs in. Big hug, rock and roll side to side. Now we're gonna do bug pose. Now there's a couple variations, and here's the way I originally did it, where I grab my feet on the outside and I take it down this way. Now you wanna flatten your tailbone, spine, and neck. But I found some limitations with this one, so eventually I started grabbing on the inside of my foot because my arms were in the way and I could pull down even deeper. So flatten your tailbone, your spine, and your neck. Deepen the breath. Slowly release. Squeeze your legs in, big hug. Rock and roll side to side, forehead to the knee. Arms to a T. Legs to the right, look to the left. And back to the center. Exhale to the left, look to the right. Back to the center, one more big hug, squeeze it in. Forehead to the knees. And rest. Stretch it out on the floor for a resting pose. Do a little breathing exercise. Big inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more inhale. Exhale. Now for these next few minutes, just allow yourself to completely relax. This is really where everything that you've just done comes to fruition. This is where the fruit, you planted the seed in the class, and now you grow from the inside out mentally. You're able to change yourself physically. You're able to change yourself through this practice. So give yourself this time. Give yourself the opportunity to relax and to be free with the gift that you've given yourself today with this yoga practice. Only you can do the yoga practice for you, no one else. Give yourself this gift as often as you can. take the peace and the strength and share it. Namaste.